All right, how many of you are student members? Yeah, life is good in Minnesota. You are the absolute lifeblood of this organization. You know, it won't happen unless you do it. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about me, since I'm here, and how I began as a first-year teacher. Because, you know, people go, look at that old man out there. He's been doing it forever. Yeah, he's directing this choir and this orchestra. But I'm going to tell you about the beginning, okay? Because I think it might encourage you about anything else you might encounter, okay? So, here we are at the very beginning of things. I went to Friends University, and it's a small Quaker school, and I won't take you a reason why I ended up at a Quaker school, but it was much better than the high school where it was called South High School, where we sang Dixie, and it was our school song. And then in junior high school, where I became a member of the Lads and Lasses, and we wore kilts. And so then going to be a Quaker was an easy transition. So I'm in my third year, guys, junior year. Yeah. And I'm feeling pretty confident and cocky, you know, as one usually does that junior year, you know. And so I get a contract from the Kansas City Public Schools, and they send me a contract saying, please sign this contract. We're interested in you, and we're going to guarantee you that you have a high school job. Okay? Now, when you're a junior in college, the high school job is the epitome, okay? So, so when anybody tells you that, don't believe a word they say. So then the Wichita Public Schools, which is the city I lived in, you know, said, don't sign that contract. And so they were even smarter. They knew who to talk to. They sent me a note saying, don't sign the contract. But they came to see my mother, who made all of my decisions. And, you know, do you want your baby away from you? That did it. So I then signed a contract for the Wichita Public Schools. I thought, okay, I can do that. So I'm walking around pretty confident, you know, and my colleagues, they don't have a job yet. But I'm a junior and I have a signed contract. So now, it's a year later. It's, you know, December, right before we leave for Christmas. They still don't have a contract. And I'm still going, well, I got a contract. January hits. The first of my colleagues has a contract and a school. I had a contract, but no school designated. So by April, all of my classmates had a job and a school assignment. And I still had a contract with no school assignment. So it's now June. And so finally I'm going, hey, I'm holding on to this contract and nobody's talking to me. You know, when things get a little hairy, people get really quiet. And they said nothing to me. Finally they said, okay, we've got to call him in. So they called me in. They said, well, Andre, I need to tell you something. And I got to tell you the era and time it was. This was late 60s, okay? The high school that we had planned to give to you, the man retiring from that high school called the community together and said, I will tear this damn music department apart before I let that young black man have this program. I said, and what is he going to do with our girls' ensembles? I went, take them to contest? You know? So they said, Andre, we can't give you that school. Okay. So it's August. I still don't know where I'm going. It is Sunday night before Monday morning where I am to report to an unknown school. So I finished my church service, and in walks Mr. Crawford, who went to my church. And he said, Andre, I need to tell you something, son. I said, what is it, Mr. Crawford? He said, you're going to be going to my school. And I said, your school? He said, yes. It was Brooks Junior High. It was Brooks Junior High. Now, what made it so unusual was this. The federal government said it was a perfect school because it had lower socioeconomic black students, lower socioeconomic white students, lower socioeconomic Hispanic students, upper middle class black students, upper middle class white students. So the government said it's a perfect blend. Except this was the deal. If you went to Brooks Junior High School, you could request a transfer to any school in the district if you taught 1 year. Okay? And it worked because Mr. Crawford, my principal, became superintendent of schools. So I said, Mr. Crawford, what will I be teaching? He said, arrive at 7 o'clock and come in my office and I'll give you your schedule. So, I'm pretty obedient. I arrived at 7 o'clock, walked into Mr. Crawford. I said, can you tell me now what I'm going to be teaching? And he said, yes. Your first period is in-school suspension. Now, don't gasp about that, because the first day was glorious in there. There was nobody there. That was glorious. And then he said, your second period is going to be 9th grade boys. So, that can't be so bad. Well, what Mr. Crawford neglected to tell me about my 9th grade boys is that we had a program in Kansas where boys were taken away from their families and moved to Lake Afton, where they lived and where they were educated because they had committed crimes and they were wards of the court. 3/4 of my 9th grade boys came to my junior high school to take music, art, and PE. And of course, I'm a first-year teacher with 3/4 of my boys coming from there. Not a problem. Not a problem. My Methodist teacher told me, put your name on the board and then turn around and address the class and tell them you're Mr. Thomas and you're going to teach them. So they came in, loud, rowdy. And then on their way in, they called me several names, of which I'm not going to repeat here. You know, and I sat there and I had my little tie on. And I was really excited about being a teacher, you know. And I was about this big, probably a little skinnier than you, son, you know. Had a fro out to here that I braided nightly to keep it out, you know. And I turned around and I faced them. And they ignored me. They talked and ignored me for 50 minutes. No matter what I said or yelled, they just kept going. Then they walked out the door and called me assortment of names. And I thought, life's got to be better than this. Okay? So then Yehudi Menuhin says this: all learning is but a bridge, okay, from the known unto the unknown. I'm going to say that again. All learning is but a bridge from the known to the unknown. So, when they came in the next day, I was ready. I had a little stereo and, you know, portable stereo. Some of you are old enough to know those where you could take the speakers out. I had a stereo. And this was before you could do things to kids and not get sued. I had the volume up loud enough to give them a hearing loss. When they walked in, they were loud. And they heard, oh, baby, give me one more chance to tell me that you love me. They would, oh, that's Jackson 5 in case you don't know. They would go, oh, yeah, this is music. Oh, yeah, this is music. And they're just rocking. And I wrote on the board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Next row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 5 rows. And I circled 1, 7, 2, 6, 3, 5. And they were just going, oh, baby. And I yelled at the top of my lungs, clap on the numbers. And they went, huh? Clap on the numbers. And they went, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, they were going. They were going. Now, right over here was Newt. Newt was my buddy, okay? He was the only one who even smiled, you know? And he said, what is this? And I said, it's called syncopation. And they said, really? I said, yeah, syncopation. We like syncopation. Let's syncopate. 1, 2, 3, 4. We syncopated for 50 minutes. They walked out the door and still called me names. Okay? So, here's what happens. When you take a job and you think that there's going to be a school system that's going to provide you with everything you need, forget it, okay? So, what does every good teacher do? You spend your own money. So I went out with my little pennies. And this is back in the days, a few of you are old enough to remember these days back in the 60s. We had these speakers that showed partials of sound, and they would vibrate. They would color red and green and yellow. You got to think this is psychedelic times, okay? Red, green, and yellow. So I bought 4 of them, and I got it in my classroom, and I wired it. So there was a speaker in each level. So when the boys came in, it was dark. It was really dark. And I turned all the lights off, the shades were down. They go, ooh, I told you that music teacher was freaky. And anyway, they walked in, and all of a sudden, they heard, yada-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-dum. And Newt said, it's red over there. And I said, it's green over there. Oh, it's red over there again. What is this? And I said, it's fugue. And they said, ooh, fugue is freaky. Okay? Now remember what my first premise was. All learning is but a bridge from the known to the unknown. Okay? So, what's happened so far? Okay? You cannot teach anyone unless you get their attention. Okay? And I had to figure out how to get their attention, and it was going to what they know. And then I could take them. And all of a sudden, they were looking at fugue, which was freaky. Okay? So then the next thing that happens, I'm broke. Okay? I don't have any more money. I'm done. I mean, it's like I could apply for food stamps, especially based on my salary. Your salaries may be a little bit better, but my salary at that time was not. So what am I going to do next? So they come in, and there's my buddy Newt. Bless his heart, he had a huge speech impediment, and the things I did to Newt are inexcusable, but he still loves me. I said, we're going to sing a fugue. No, we're going to do fugue today. And they said, turn off the lights. I said, no, we're going to do this with the lights on. And they said, really? Okay. And I said, we're going to sing a fugue. And they said, sing? I said, yes, sing. We don't sing. I said, this is called 9th grade men's chorus. We don't sing. I said, yo, you maybe just give it a try. Newt, can you help me out? That same smile. Well, I'll help you out. Now, the boy had a speech impediment, and so I give him loads of fricatives, right? They're really bright. And so I start, fly swift among the hands of time, fly swift among the, help me out, dude. And he goes, fly swift among the hands of time. And they, and he was singing along, I was singing with him. He turned around, y'all don't leave me out here by myself. They went, fly swift among the hands of time. It was a fuguing tune by Jeremiah Ingalls. You may not know who Jeremiah Ingalls is, but if you've taken any courses in music education, you know the name Lowell Mason. Okay? In the same area was Jeremiah Ingalls. And we did it. And my boys were singing. okay? To this day, I credit those boys in teaching me how to teach, okay? They were the best methods class I ever had in my life. They left, still called me names. Okay, so then Mr. Crawford says to me, Miss Nee, who has the girls course, is afraid of the boys. And so you've got to combine the girls and the boys together and take them to contests. You know, as the 9th grade mixed course, you will be rehearsing. All students will send a substitute when you have to run back and forth. You can do this. And I went, okay, so what's the next thing that choir directors do? They find the most hideous outfits to put people in and call them their attire, okay? So our school colors are purple and white, okay? Not so bad. So I go to the fabric store. And I said, I went to the fabric store, found this fabric that had squares, purple, white, okay? So on the front, if they had any substance, there are lots of bad conductors. You should be able to stand in front of any ensemble, and you can make them better. I didn't say they would be the St. Olaf Choir, you know, in robes and, you know, I didn't say that. I didn't say that, but they'll be better, okay? You're now teaching in a world that it's very different. My role was tough, okay? My role was tough. And I was in Nebraska ACDA, and almost all of those teachers are trained because they have to teach everything. Because outside of Lincoln and Omaha, those are the only schools designated as having a choral program. All the rural schools, all out, you teach band, choir, you teach everything, okay? That's a different world, okay? Yesterday I worked with urban schools, different world, okay? Another different world, you know? And I walked in to that presentation, I went, I'm home, let's go. Didn't I tell you, you better be over here tonight, I'm gonna hurt you, you better get over here. Yeah? That's your world. Plus, now you have to deal with lots of other things, you know. My last year of teaching, I had a transgender student who was on hormones. I had to be able to understand how to help him, because his preferred pronouns were him, you know. And I said, is that okay? He said, and it all boils down to individually. Because now we got so many things going on, you know. They, him, everybody, so whatever. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on. So it has to be individual. I said, should I say men over here? And he said, that's what I am. And I went, okay. I didn't find him at first because universities have this rule that whatever first picture you come in, that stays with you as long as you're ever enrolled at the university. And he was no longer Elizabeth, he was Jake. And I couldn't find him in the glee club. And I went, is Jake here? And I heard, yes. And I went, okay. And we met every other week to say, second tenor comfortable? He says, I'll let you know when I need to move to baritone. Okay? That's the whole world that you're in now. It is not all that different than little Alan. You accommodate it. Last thing. I am a conductor. I am first a teacher. And the third thing is this. I teach people. I teach people. I don't teach music. I teach people, and music is my vehicle. Thank you very much.